Hi, I'm so happy to see you all again in today's English class. In today's class, we are about to discuss chapter 13 in our English textbook. Unlike other stories, this tells us the fact, the story behind the invention of printing. Yes, that's what we are going to see today. Nowadays, it's very easy for us to print and nearly anyone can print. It's so easy and simple. But in the olden days, many centuries ago, how they have printed the letters and how they convey the information to others. That's what we are going to discuss today. The invention of printing. The title of the story is The Invention of Printing. Let us discuss about ancient and early printing methods. It all began in Mesopotamia, 1000 BCE. BCE, which means before Common Era. Mesopotamia was the ancient name of the land which presently forms large parts of Iraq and some parts of Kuwait, Syria and Turkey. The people of Mesopotamia used cylindrical seals, which you can see in the picture, and to make impressions on clay tablets. Under that, Egyptians and Chinese, they used wooden blocks which were in the shapes of characters for printing text and images on different materials. And in India and Europe, they printed on cloth, and then they started printing on papyrus, which comes from the water plant or on paper. There is a belief that the first movable alphabet was invented in China in the 11th century. But it didn't reach well because of very large number of characters in Chinese alphabet. You know that there are nearly 50,000 letters in Chinese alphabet. So what? The first book was printed in Europe in 1455. Before printing such books, the authors had to copy it out by hand on parchment, a paper-like material which made out of animal skin, or papyrus that made out of water plant. The letters were written only on one side and the other side would be left blank. They rolled it and kept it inside jars or wooden boxes. A long book would get nearly 30 yards in length in those times. Many rolls gathered together and formed a library. These can only be read by the learned people who belong to those in power. No ordinary person was allowed to read. Then, paper mills were set up in Europe in the 13th century. Paper was cut to different sizes, and the important thing here is they used it to write on both sides of the paper. Even though they were able to print on paper, books were written out only by hand and copied from existing documents. Such books were only owned by rich, or it can be found in church libraries. Yes, that's all about the ancient and early printing methods. Let us now move to Gutenberg's printing method. According to Dutch, printing in Europe began in the 1420s at Haarlem. Now it's known as Holland, by a man named Costa. How did he invent printing? It is being told that he cut out letters from the bark of a tree to amuse his grandchildren, and there he observed that the letters left an impression on sand. He could clearly see that, and this gave him the ideology of printing. He came up with the design of movable type of letters, and that made up of wood. Later, he made letters of tin and lead. When he was dying, a worker stole everything he possessed and took them to Germany and set up his own press. Castor was among the first to set up a primitive typesetting press. But you know what? People in Europe were saying that a German blacksmith called Johannes Gutenberg introduced printing in Europe. He invented mechanical movable type of letters that started the printing revolution. During Renaissance, it played a key role in spreading of new thoughts and ideas. Renaissance. What is Renaissance? Renaissance was the period in European history that moved the entire country from Middle Age period to modernity. It was during 15th and 16th centuries when there were extraordinary developments took place. Gutenberg was the first to introduce oil-based ink that would not run on the paper and that would not blot. It was very important for printing on paper. The first book that Gutenberg ever printed was the Latin language Bible, and it took nearly 7 years for him to print the entire text. In 1455, he issued 180 copies of the Bible. He was really happy at that time. What happened next? Was this methodology the key to modern printing machine? How the printing methods were expanded? Let us discuss all that in the next class. That's the end of today's class. Thank you for watching this video.